Right, here we have something that looks a little more like an aeroplane. We have some wings. Now, don't worry, I haven't gone ahead and built the aircraft without showing you. This is the one that I'm building in unison with our example, our video example, but this is just the next step. So that's it, we're putting wings on, but the eagle-eyed amongst you will see that we've also got some rigging sitting here as well, and we've got some carbon fibre sticking out too. So we'll go for that. And the even more eagle-eyed of you will notice we've got some shiny things here, here, and here, and those are the magnets in place. And in fact, that's the part that we're going to do first. So let's just pop this to one side, and we'll bring on our current build. There we go. And your magnets should be in the bag that contains the little envelope with your rigging, the plywood, and the strip that we used for the tail there. Obviously it isn't in here anymore. So we'll just grab, in fact what we'll do, because we're going to need it, we're going to grab the rigging wire. We'll also grab the carbon fibre rod. Now this is mainly used for the axle, but as you can see, this is quite big for the axle for this aircraft. It would have a very wide stance, and in fact we're going to use some of this to actually create those little, well, essentially they are struts to the upper wing, or stabilising struts up to the upper wing that will stop it moving back and forth from side to side. So we'll grab that out too, and our magnets should be in here. Now, if you have built Micro Aces aircraft before, especially if they've been the non-rotary type, so the SE5A, the Fokker D7, the Bristol, in fact, the F2B too, you normally get 6 of the little 3mm by 1mm magnets in there. You can see. Let's get it to focus. Hocus pocus. Oh, nearly. Yeah, there we go. So, but here we've actually got 4 of them, and then on the other side we have 2 of the larger 4mm by 1mm magnets. So we're going to need 2 of the 3mm and 1 of the 4mm. So we'll just grab those. And I'm going to put these back into the bag so we don't lose them, because obviously they're very easy to lose. So we'll pop the bag to one side. Okay, so the 4mm is going to sit centrally here, and there's a little dip in the structure just there, and that's where it sits in there, centrally placed on this 2mm bulkhead. And obviously you've got a little bit of the plastic on the top there too. So let's just do that. Well, what we'll do first is just place some glue there. There we go. And we'll also place glue in the little areas down here. Just point those out. So you should have noticed that there's just a little divot there, and also here on the opposite side, and those are there to receive a 3mm by 1mm magnet. So I'm putting a reasonable amount of glue in there. Once we've got the magnets in, it'll have plenty of time to set, and that's what we want, because we're not covering these magnets with anything else. We're just relying on the glue to keep them in place, and obviously they're going to have the force of an opposing magnet on the other side pulling at them. So the glue we want to keep the whole thing stable. Right, just separating the 3mm from the 4. I'm actually going to attempt to pick this up with tweezers. A lot easier to do so like that. And then place So this actually, rather than keeping the hatch on, is actually much like on the W12, the Hansa Brandenburg W12, the motor mount actually sits on there, and there's an opposing magnet in the motor mount that comes to bear on that area there. So hopefully you can see that positioned, that point there. It obviously doesn't matter which way up you put it at the moment. That'll matter when we come to building the hatch for these front ones here, and putting the magnet in the motor mount for the larger magnet there. Okay, let's subdivide our separate our two magnets, and then drop them into place. So obviously I'm using plastic tweezers. If they were metal tweezers, then, especially if they were steel, then we'd have a problem, because obviously the magnet would want to keep attached to the tweezer itself. So I'm just positioning these so that they lie flat in their position, like so. And then any excess glue, I'm not going to wipe away. I was just about to use a piece of piano wire to do it. No, don't do that, because obviously the magnet will come with it. So I'm just using the tip of the tweezers to wipe away. I'm just pushing the magnets down a little so they seat better and are surrounded by the glue. So as you can see there, that's where they're positioned. Pretty much up against the bulkhead here. So when we produce the hatch, we'll make sure that our magnets sit in a very similar place to that, so they sit down on top. So now the other thing you can do to add some strength to the glue, the foam to foam seems to work very well, but as a sort of an extra, I tend to like putting a little bit of the CA glue, the foam safe CA glue, and kind of like if you have built one of our kits before, you'll know that we normally put a sticker over the magnets to add a little bit of security, but obviously here we're not. This acts as sort of a little bit of adhesive varnish that we can use. Now this is a bit of an old pot, so sometimes it gets a little bit clogged, but I think we're okay here. So I'm just going to put a little bit on either side, and I can also get some on the underside too from here, and I can't on this side, but I'll just put some on the side, and it's liquid enough that it should run behind like so. And then, as I said, just put a little bit of a smear on top as well. Acts as a bit of a sticker. There we go. And if you want to wipe any excess off, once again, use it with a non-magnetic item. There we go. Now, at the nose here, not only am I going to add a little bit of this CA glue around the magnets, I'm going to do something else too. So that's it around the magnets. I just went a little bit overboard there. I don't want it creating any structures that will stop the hatch from seating properly. But the hatch actually sits behind this this front piece that we created when we put the fuselage skin on. And obviously these bits sticking up are a little vulnerable. So what I'm going to do is just add some of this CA glue to the back of that edge, and that actually strengthens the material quite substantially. The aircraft that I've already built, which is in the Secret Santa livery, I ought to say, I should stop saying this because this could be viewed in years to come. And what's Secret Santa livery talking about? But you know what I'm talking about. And I've done it to that, and I have crashed several times while flying it, obviously deliberately to test the strength of the airframe, and sometimes the hatch comes off if the stop is powerful enough, and obviously with the hatch sitting behind this structure here, you'd imagine that when it comes forward it has the opportunity to knock into this area here and potentially damage it, but that hasn't happened on the model that I've been flying, and obviously deliberately crashing. So I think that's a nice little trick that you can do, rather than putting any more material behind there. The foam safe CA tends to soak in a bit to the and conform to the material itself, and we are, when the hatch comes down, we are limited for space anyway, so putting more material in the way would potentially cause problems. But apart from that, I think we were about there. So that's the magnets in place. Now the support for the upper wing and the struts that we make out of the this is a 1mm diameter carbon fibre rod, so it's not hollow, it's solid all the way through. We actually need for the axle, we need 80mm of material. So what I suggest you do is we cut that 80mm, and I know that each square on here is 5mm. So if I count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. No, that's not right. What I meant to say was that each one of these is 10mm, so 1 centimetre. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's where we want to cut it. Just make sure we've got it lined up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll cut here. So cutting this, you can actually just scissor this if you've got a nice pair of sharp scissors, or obviously you can use your scalpel to do the same. And there we go, cut through. So that's our 80. I'm going to pop that back into the bag for use later on, and then we have it should be around about just over 40mm left here. So we want to divide that in two. Essentially, I'm just taking the sort of the burr off the ends of this where it has been cut. So I'm going to cut this in two. So let's just position that across the 4 squares, and then centrally divide it like so, and hold on to the two pieces lest they fly off, never to be seen again. So once again, just clean up that end, as it tends to splay a little bit. These are actually these are made from protruded fibres, so they're sort of drawn out and run the length of the material. So, and these two little pieces here, check whether you've got them equal by just comparing them, and that looks about right. These actually fit into these little slots that have been created here and here, so we get our angle correct. And what you want to do when you put them in is to move them all the way up to the point where they sit behind the little plastic part that we've already adhered to the bulkhead. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to each of those slots. There we go. And then we can position these in like so. There we go, and just let the glue dry off. They will remain a little flexible, so that when we position our struts, the cabane struts, then the inside of the cabane strut marries up with the tip of the of these carbon fibre parts. So if you've ever made the Bristol F2B, we have a similar system on that you put in place before you start popping the struts on. Okay, that's done. Now on to creating the... Oh, that's not it. Before creating the bottom wing, we're actually going to thread the rigging for both wings onto our little rigging points here, or specifically one of the rigging points on each of the pairs that we have there and there. Reason being is that one of these pairs sits over the bottom wing, so with the bottom wing in place it makes it very difficult to actually thread, so we might as well do it now and save ourselves a lot of trouble. Now before you do that, it might be a good idea just to check that your holes are clear. So the hole that we are going to rig is the rearmost on either side. So what I'm going to do is just pop a little bit of piano wire through, just to make sure that that hole is, just removes glue from it. Don't want to push glue into the hole. The other thing you can do, in fact, is use the needle threader itself, just to clear the hole. So that might be better to show. So I've got a needle threader here, but they actually, the needle threaders themselves come in the packs here, and I'll show you when I undo or open that. So I've actually popped that through the hole. I'm just making sure that that hole is clear, and I'll do the same on the other one because we're here. We're not going to use it just yet, but as we're going through this process, we might as well do both. So there we go. Just make sure it's clear, and I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so let's open out. So there should be about 3 meters of material here, and the threader sits within the spool itself, so it's a good idea to undo all of this. Now there's also some information on the envelope here which tells you to stretch this rigging material before using it. So you should really open it up, take the rigging wire off, and then go hang the double it up and tie it together at the ends, and then go and hang something relatively heavy. It doesn't have to be stupidly heavy, just maybe half a kilo or something like that, a few pounds, and let it stretch, preferably for 24 hours, and that just gets any stretch out of this material. It is supposed to be very stiff anyway, and very low water absorption, and so hopefully with taking that extra stretch out, you will have your rigging looking nice and taut. So anyway, what we need for the rigging here, let's pretend I've just stretched this, is we need a metre we're going to go for. So out of the 3 meters, we're going to use 2 meters for doing the wings, and the other meter is going to be left for doing the tail and the undercarriage. So plenty left to do those small areas. So let's just go. So that's 1, 2, 3. This really confuses my eyes when I when I look closely at it. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I've lost it again. Oh dear. So anyway, I know that here this is essentially 60 centimeters or 600 millimeters wide. So when you are doing this, if I want a meter, if I take it to 500 and then just double it, then I've got my meter. You'll need a relatively sharp blade to cut this. That's obviously not relatively sharp, so it didn't do a particularly good job, but there we have one of our 1 meter lengths. Let's do the other. Go. Let's try my other knife. I'm sure I've changed the blade on one of them. There we go. It's that one. I've changed the blade on. So the spare material, we'll use our new threader. So let's just grab this spare material and, or was it that? That's the meter there. So it doesn't really matter, does it? This should be a meter too. So let's just wind this back onto the spooler. There we go, and then pop that back into the bag, and then pop that back into the clear bag so we know where everything is. Okay, so what we need to do is, with one of our strands, make sure we've got the end in sight, and then pop our threader from the bottom upwards through that rearmost rigging point. There we go. And then just pop the end through the threader wire and pull it back through. If you need to, you can grab Oh, hang on a second. Let's try that again. My rigging point has actually split. The glue has become ineffective. So what I'm going to do is hold it between the tweezers and pop the threader through again. It's gone through both. So they've come together again. And then pop the rigging wire through. I'm not going to put too much of a tail on it because I'm just going to have to pull that tail all the way through that very tight hole. So there we go. Short tail. So that's now sitting in that rearmost rigging point like so. And what I'm going to do is just tie a very simple knot to the short end here. This is where nails come in handy, which I don't have. Let's pull some more thread through. So it's just a simple knot. It's quite a tight hole, so I don't have to put a stopper knot in. There we go. And the tail that you have between, I haven't tied it very close to the end, have I? It should be up there, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We've got plenty of material anyway. I'm just going to cut the tail off so that we've just got the stopper knot right at the end, and then I can pull that all the way through, and then all I'm going to do is just using 2 fingers just wind the material or the thread around those fingers carefully like so, and then with a little bit of a tail there, take that off, put a little twist in it like so, and then just wrap that tail around maybe 5-10 times. Now this is quite good at holding a shape, so I should be able to, rather than lock it in place, I can just pop it there, and then this actually this whole gathered thread can just sit in that little pocket in the front, just behind that magnet, like so. Sit in there whilst we do our building, so it's out of the way and it's not flapping around all over the place. So I'm now going to do exactly the same on this side. There's no point in showing you that. It'll just take up your valuable time. So I'll crack on and do that, and then we will start building that lower wing. So I've got the other side done as well on the rearmost point of the rigging bit. So now we can just pop that to one side for now, and we can start looking at assembling the lower wing. So there are a few parts that we need for this, namely P16, which is a plastic part. We're also going to need, where's my 2mm sheet? 2mm sheet, there we go. We're going to need D18 as well, that one, that part there. And also, I believe that is D19. So D18, D19 and P16. So let's get those out of their sheets. Now D18 has actually got a score down the center of it, as you'll be able to see on your part, and you can see there. Now what we need to do is this actually we don't have to cut all the way through. If you do, it doesn't matter, but if you've got a bit of a light touch, then I haven't. Both have come apart, but the idea would have been, if I'd kept those parts together, they'd fold over on each other and form up to make what is essentially a very small central double rib for the lower wing. So what I can do is just glue those two parts together. In preparation, and set them to one side to dry off. They literally just sit on top of one another like so. So I'll just put them there to dry. And then our little sort of dihedral setter, we're actually going to coach with our P16 part. So let's just see. Once again, you'll see on the P16 part you've got a couple of scores. That to one side. Actually put it over there. That's it. And those scores just need to be folded, and it'll soon become apparent that this shrouds our part here on three sides, like so. So that should drop in to give you something that looks like that. Obviously we need to glue this in place, so let's just add a little bit. I'm just going to add it to the inner tops of this part, and then hopefully as we push the part in, the glue will be drawn down into the part. There we go, and it will come together like so. So I'm not going to keep any pressure on that. I'm just going to let the glue dry, and then once it's dry we can push those parts together. So whilst that's going off, we can prepare the two ribs for the lower wing. These are made up of D.20, so that's D.20, that's also D.20, so they're used on the lower and upper wing, so just choose which one you want, doesn't matter, they're both the same. And once again, this is scored down the middle, and you do want to divide these because each one forms a separate rib. So just carefully cut down like so. So you've got two ribs. Now they are actually reinforced and decorated using stickers. So once again, if you're used to building micro racers aircraft, a lot of them use this very similar technique, and we're going to be using S9s. We've got some S19s which are top wing, and we've got some S20s as well, which form the central part of the top wing, but S9s are what we need. And to decorate the rib, what I like to do is just pop the sticker down with the printed side face down, and then put the flat side of the rib centrally on the sticker. Now this can take a little bit of practice to do. And there we go. So make sure that that is nicely stuck, adhered to that lower portion, and then what I'm going to do is just fold up the sides to come into contact with the sides of the 2mm foam. You can probably see, let's just bring that a little bit closer so you can see how it's sitting at the moment, like so. I seem to have got a little bit of glue on my hands that keeps beading off, but so now this should crease the sticker down the sides of the rib, like so, and where the rib and sticker have less material to come in contact, you probably just need to give them a little bit of a encouragement. What I like to do is to actually enhance this crease down the sticker, which helps to keep the material in place. Just by pinching it all the way down, it sort of almost deforms the rib when you go down one side, but then when you go down the other side it brings it back into shape, like so. And if you still find that those edges right at the tips of the rib are coming away, you can always just slip a little bit of glue in there as well, just to try and make sure that the sticker stays in place. But this, I find, normally does the trick if you're just pinching it all in there. Good. Right, well I'll do the other rib once again. No need for you to hang around to watch that because you've seen this. And I'll come back and we'll start the assembly of the central part of the lower wing. Right, there we go. 2 ribs complete. Now let's build our center section. So we grab the tiny little rib. I'm just going to trim the tip of it so that it's even. Not that that probably matters, but probably my OCD coming through. And then with the little slot that's cut in there, that goes into the slot that's cut in the other part, and that's how it sits together. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring the parts to bear on one another. Just going to add a little bit of pressure in the center there, just to make sure that it's not pushing our rib out too far and splaying it. And it doesn't really matter which way this goes on, as long as obviously you've got it oriented like so. So I'll just drop a little bit of glue onto that and bring that together. So that sits nicely, and obviously the top of the angled part of the rib should be flush with the top of the brace, and obviously sitting perpendicular to it. So we can pop that over there to dry off, plus our ribs with the stickers on. Get rid of that for now, and what we can do is cut out our lower wings. So those are Z9 and Z10, and then we just got a little bit of work to do to them before we start putting it all together. Just this bit here. Okay. So, before we do anything, just make sure that the tabs are knocked down so that they're not protruding, especially on this central part here, because this is where the two wings come together and we don't want them angled apart unnecessarily by bits of material that are sticking out that shouldn't be there. There we go. And of course, what we can do now, before we do anything else, is with our ball tool, we can knock down the edges so that we reduce the white edge. So I'm actually using the small ball tool for the leading edge and tip of the wing, and then I'm going to switch to the larger ball for the trailing edge. So the larger ball obviously knocks down more material, sort of a wider amount of material. The smaller knocks down a smaller amount, and obviously at the leading edge and wingtips of the original aircraft, obviously it's not as sharp as it is at the trailing edge, so that's why I've done it like that. If you don't have the beauty of having two different sized ball tools, then it's not really that important. It's just one of those little ideas that I have now and again that seems to make sense in my own mind, but who knows. Go. It's quite satisfying doing these scalloped edges. There we go. Okay. Now there's a little difference. If you're once again used to making micro-aces aircraft, there is a tiny little difference here with this kit, and that's because the slot for the interplane struts comes very close to the leading edge of the wings, and so what we've done is provide a little bit of strengthening material on the plastic sheet. And the reason for this is that in some of the prototype aircraft that I built, or one particular prototype aircraft that I built for flying, on the first bad landing that I made, the pressure of the strut in here, and obviously the aircraft coming to an abrupt stop, actually cracked the material here, and I think it was just on the one side it did it, but I thought, well, that could be a problem. So what I did was create a couple of little plastic pieces that hopefully strengthen the area. Well, I know that they strengthen the area there because once I'd installed them, it didn't happen again. P21 and P22. So P21, let's see which one this goes on. There is a little bit of a graphic, so if I turn that round, that's going to go onto our starboard wing, our right side, that goes there, and so P22 goes onto the port side. Let's just, you can see the part there, P21, Let's just extract P22 as well before I get rid of the plastic sheet to one side. There we go, so that's going on that side. So it's just a matter of applying a little bit of glue in that general area. And then popping our part in place. And obviously that little slot cut into it goes around the slot in the wing like so, and it just adds a little bit of strength to that area, stops the wing from splitting inadvertently in a forced landing. So do exactly the same on this side. There we go. So you can see how they're positioned there. Okay, while they're drying off, we're just going to shape our wings. You'll notice the score down the centre there. We're just going to make sure that the wing bends appropriately, and you can actually push it. The print actually helps keep the skin of the top of the wing together and stops it splitting, so you can actually push it quite far. Obviously we only need it quite shallow because, well, we need it that shallow. So you can do that on both wings, just get them set up for the final assembly, and then we can attach the rib. Now this sits on the inside of the slot for the interplanes, and you can see there's a graphic there that's supposed to indicate where the rib goes, but it's quite light, and obviously the canvas type colour is very light as well. But it sits on the inside of that slot, i.e. towards the iron cross. So let's just add some glue to the top of our rib. Like so. And then that should sit from leading to trailing edge. And obviously we want the rib itself to be absolutely right by that slot, not covering it, but right on the edge. So if I bring this up, you can see how it's installed there. So we can then repeat the process on this wing, and then we'll come back and assemble it onto our central brace and rib. So here we have our two wings now with ribs installed and with our little reinforcement patches too. And now we want to bring them to bear on our wing brace. Now in this kit we haven't got a standing wing brace that you can pop this on to actually set as the glue dries, and the reason being is that the additional plastic that we've used to actually wrap the brace in strengthens it to the point where it is rigid, so that we shouldn't need a brace. All we need to do is position this and glue it in place, and we should have the angle set as we need it, and it should keep there. So let's just apply some glue to one side of this brace. So all the points that come into contact with the underside of the lower wing, we're just going to add some glue to. And then set it in place. So you'll notice that the longer part of the double rib sits actually forward, facing forward, like so. And obviously when we place this part in, just make sure that you have the 2mm of rib poking out the other side to give the other wing something to mount upon. So I'm just going to gently push that into place, making sure it's settled, and then we'll just leave that to dry and we'll add the second wing. Okay, so given that time to dry, we'll add a little more glue to this side. There we go. I've been relatively generous with the glue because obviously it's a fairly vital joint. Just bring that down too. I'm actually going to take that away, let that glue dry off. Just make sure this is all nice and seated. There we go. Cool. Once again, let that dry off and we'll bring those together. Right, let's get this finished off. So obviously when you're using the glue as a in this way where it's dried off as a contact adhesive, you need to be pretty careful when you bring the two parts together because they're going to grab. There is an opportunity to shift around a bit, but it's better if you, certainly if you've had a bit of a dry fit to begin with, just to make sure everything is going where it should. And then secondly, positioning it correctly when everything comes into contact, so that obviously we've got the leading edges matching, trailing edges matching, and the part is coming together. So that brace is now doing its job. As you can see, we've got a dihedral angle in there, and when we actually come to fit this to the fuselage, you'll notice that there is a corresponding upper dihedral angle too that should sandwich, so obviously the lower brace and this shaped upper brace too, sandwich the two together and provide the correct dihedral for the build. So we'll take these out for now so they don't get in the way of gluing onto the central section there. But as you can see, you can sort of dry fit this, and it's pretty nice tight fit where both of the cutouts at the back and the front should sit into the outer fuselage sections that have been cut out, and it should press home there, and you shouldn't have any gaps on the wing roots. That should all marry up nicely as well. And then you can check, I'm just eyeballing down the aircraft like that, checking that my horizontal stabilizer is sitting, well, we know that's sitting pretty much as it should be because we've created that, and just making sure that the wings look like they form the, obviously they're not going to be parallel because they've got dihedral, but as long as they are sort of sitting equally angled compared to that horizontal stabilizer, then we're winning. Now if you've got any problems with that, and that one side is up or down from the other. Just need to check your wing roots. Maybe you got a little twist on the fuselage when installing, and that can be resolved by just a little bit of sanding here and there, should it be required. But hopefully, if you followed the instructions to the T, then that'll sit perfectly. So all we need to do now is glue that in place. So what I'm going to do is just add glue where the wing comes into contact with the fuselage, so down the central keel in the cavity area there, and then out along the bottom of these bulkheads, there and there, and along the little between parts, and then on the small bead on the wing root itself, like so. There we go. So now it's just a process of repeating the dry fit. Just make sure everything's in place. Another good indicator is that the trailing edge of the wings sits flush with the fuselage where they're sitting. So there we go. Wings on. Next stage completed. See you in the next video.